Right now, as you read these words, your eyes are working harder than they should. That dry, gritty, burning feeling you get every afternoon is not just aging. It is not screen fatigue. It is not something you simply have to live with. What if that sensation is the first visible warning of 3 specific biological breakdowns happening inside your body simultaneously? And what if all 3 are being quietly accelerated by something as invisible as the food you are not eating? There is a single grocery store item that costs about 12 cents a day. It sits on ordinary shelves. You may already own it. And peer-reviewed clinical trials published in ophthalmology and nutrition journals show it can intervene across all 3 of those breakdowns at once. Your eye doctor has likely never mentioned it, not because it is hidden, because the research crosses 3 medical fields that rarely read each other. In the next few minutes, you are going to understand exactly why your vision changes after 50, what is actually driving it at the cellular level, and what you can do about it starting tomorrow morning. To understand the solution, you first need to understand what is actually happening inside your eyes right now. There are 3 biological processes accelerating simultaneously. After age 50, they do not work independently. Each one makes the other 2 worse. Most people are aware of one. Almost nobody understands how all 3 connect into a single self-reinforcing loop. The first is the slow collapse of the tiny oil glands embedded along the edges of your eyelids. These are called the meibomian glands. When you were younger, these glands produced a thin, clear oil that spread across your eye surface, with every blink forming a protective lipid shield that prevented your tears from evaporating. Imaging studies show that by age 65, roughly 40 to 50% of the functional gland tissue in the average adult has already atrophied and been replaced by scar tissue. Half the oil-producing infrastructure your eyes depend on has permanently shut down. That is why your eyes feel gritty at 2 in the afternoon. That is why your vision blurs when you read and clears the moment you blink. Your tears are evaporating off your eyes faster than your body can replace them, and no eye drop in the world rebuilds that oil layer from the inside. The second breakdown is the one almost nobody connects to eyesight. It is the quiet deterioration of your intestinal barrier. Your gut lining is a wall that is literally 1 cell thick, designed to keep bacterial toxins locked inside your digestive tract. But as microbial diversity drops with age, the bacteria that produce butyrate, the short-chain fatty acid that fuels the cells holding that wall together, decline by 30 to 40% after age 60. When that wall loosens, bacterial fragments called lipopolysaccharides leak into your bloodstream and trigger chronic low-grade inflammation, elevating IL-6 and C-reactive protein, 2 markers directly linked to accelerated macular degeneration and cataract formation. Your gut is silently pumping inflammatory compounds into your blood that are damaging your retinas right now, and you cannot feel it happening. The third breakdown is the trap that locks everything in place. After menopause or andropause, the steep decline in estrogen signaling shuts down estrogen receptor activity in the lacrimal glands, responsible for your watery tear layer, cutting tear volume, at exactly the moment your oil glands are already failing. That same hormonal instability amplifies the inflammatory signals coming from your compromised gut wall, accelerating damage across all 3 systems at once. These are not 3 separate problems. They are one connected chain. The oil gland collapse triggers inflammation that compounds with the toxins leaking through your intestinal wall, driving up the markers that destabilize the hormonal pathways your inner tear glands depend on, which accelerates gland atrophy, thins the lipid layer further, and restarts the entire loop. It tightens every year past 60. If you recognize any of this in your own daily experience, stay with yes, because what comes next is where the science gets specific. The intervention that peer-reviewed research points to is not a supplement stack. It is not a prescription. It costs roughly 12 cents per serving and is available at any grocery store. It is ground flaxseed, specifically cold milled or freshly ground flaxseed, not the whole seed and not the oil alone. The reason flaxseed is uniquely positioned to address all 3 breakdowns simultaneously comes down to 2 active compounds, working through completely different biological channels. The first is ALA, alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. The second is SDG, secoisolariciresinol diglucoside, a lignin compound found in higher concentrations in flaxseed than in any other food on Earth. Chia seeds contain similar omega-3 levels, but flaxseed delivers 75 to 800 times more lignans. That difference is everything. Here is how each mechanism works. The first mechanism is tear film reconstruction, and it is the one you will feel first. A randomized double-blind placebo-controlled trial published in Contact Lens and Anterior Eye studied dry eye patients taking flaxseed oil daily for 12 weeks. Tear breakup time improved by roughly 75%. Schirmer test scores measuring tear volume increased significantly over placebo. The ALA from ground flaxseed converts into anti-inflammatory compounds called resolvins and protectins that calm the inflammation in your eyelid tissue, unclogging those meibomian glands, and thinning the thick, waxy secretion back into a clear, free-flowing oil that coats every blink. This is structural repair from the inside, not a temporary coating the way prescription eye drops work. The second mechanism is arterial cholesterol clearance. A meta-analysis published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that daily ground flaxseed reduced LDL cholesterol by 15 to 18% within 12 weeks. The soluble fiber in flaxseed binds bile acids in your intestinal tract, forcing your liver to pull excess LDL particles directly out of your blood to manufacture replacement bile. At the same time, your gut bacteria convert the SDG lignans into enterolactone, which inhibits the same enzyme that statin drugs target, reducing cholesterol production at the source through two independent pathways simultaneously. The third mechanism is blood sugar stabilization, directly protecting the delicate capillaries inside your retinas. A meta-analysis in the Journal of Nutrition found that daily ground flaxseed reduced fasting blood glucose significantly in adults with type 2 diabetes and prediabetes. The viscous gel formed by flaxseed fiber slows glucose absorption, blunting the spikes that damage your retinal blood vessels over time. The fourth mechanism is gut barrier reconstruction. Researchers at the University of Toronto found that flaxseed consumption significantly increased beneficial bacteria populations while boosting butyrate concentrations in the gut. Butyrate fuels the cells lining your intestinal wall and activates the protein receptors that tighten the junctions between those cells, literally sealing the gaps that were leaking inflammatory compounds into your bloodstream and accelerating retinal damage. The fifth mechanism is hormonal rebalancing. The SDG lignans in flaxseed are converted by your gut bacteria into enterolactone and enterodiol, which selectively bind estrogen receptor beta in your lacrimal glands, partially restoring the tear secretion that collapses after menopause or andropause. Pair ground flaxseed with a zinc source, like pumpkin seeds or eggs, and a B vitamin source, and you reactivate the enzymatic pathway that converts ALA into longer-chain fatty acids. Your meibomian glands need to rebuild their lipid secretions. Two independent channels converging, although same tear film, from completely different directions. This is not one mechanism, with one benefit. It is 5 mechanisms targeting all 3 biological breakdowns at once through a single dietary change. Not all flaxseed is equal, and this is where most people quietly sabotage their results before they even begin. Whole flax seeds sprinkled onto yogurt or salad deliver zero benefit. The human digestive tract cannot break through the tough outer hull of an intact seed. Those seeds pass straight through your system, carrying every milligram of ALA and SDG with them, completely unused. Pre-ground flax seeds sold in clear plastic bags. Stored under store lighting may be worse than useless. Ground flaxseed oxidizes rapidly when exposed to light, air, and heat, and those rancid lipid peroxides generate the exact oxidative stress your eyes are already fighting against. What you want is cold-milled ground flaxseed in an opaque, resealable bag, ideally vacuum-sealed or nitrogen-flushed, stored refrigerated after opening the bag. The best and most cost-effective option truly is to purchase fresh, whole organic flax seeds and grind them yourself in a standard coffee grinder, ground immediately before each and every use. This gives you the freshest possible product, at roughly 4 to 6 cents per tablespoon. The dose needs to be introduced gradually. Start with exactly 1 teaspoon, approximately 3 grams per day for the first week. Your gut microbiome needs time to adapt to the dense soluble fiber content. After week 1, increase to 2 teaspoons. After week 2, move to 1 tablespoon. By week 3, reach the target clinical dose of 2 tablespoons per day, reaching approximately 14 grams total. This is the dose range used in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition meta-analysis that produced the 15 to 18% LDL reduction. Do not exceed 3 tablespoons daily. The preparation mistake that kills compliance fastest is mixing ground flaxseed into plain water. It forms a thick, viscous gel within seconds that most people find difficult to consume. Instead, blend your dose into a dark berry smoothie, stir it into warm oatmeal, or fold it into soup. The fiber matrix survives blending and heat below boiling without losing its active compounds. Add a small handful of pumpkin seeds, or 1 egg to the same meal, for the zinc and B vitamins that reactivate the enzymatic conversion pathway and unlock significantly more ALA benefit than flaxseed achieves alone. Take your flaxseed with breakfast within 90 minutes of waking. At that window, your bile acid cycle is active. Your meibomian gland lipid substrates are being assembled, and your gut bacteria are primed to ferment the fiber into butyrate. Avoid adding sugar, honey, or fruit juice concentrate. Fructose triggers a liver pathway that promotes the exact triglyceride production the flaxseed is working to suppress. Walk 15 to 20 minutes after breakfast. Mild movement after eating enhances intestinal transit and accelerates bile acid circulation, amplifying the cholesterol clearance mechanism. Drink a full glass of water with your dose. Ground flaxseed absorbs 10 times its weight in water. Without adequate hydration, the fiber does not form the gel. If you take blood-thinning medications, such as warfarin or apixaban, consult your physician. Flaxseed has a mild anticoagulant effect that can compound with these drugs. If you take thyroid medication or statins, separate your flaxseed dose by 1 to 2 hours, as the mucilage gel can delay drug absorption. Men over 60 with prostate concerns should limit their dose to 1 tablespoon daily, as the evidence on high-dose ALA remains conflicting. Understanding the timeline is what separates people who stay consistent from people who quit. Around day 10, weeks before any meaningful biological change has had time to occur. Here's what actually happens and when. In the first 1 to 2 weeks, before you notice any change in your eyes, your digestion will feel calmer and more predictable. The bloating you may have attributed to a normal aging is your gut microbiome responding to the soluble fiber, increasing butyrate production and beginning to seal the intestinal barrier. You may also notice slightly less afternoon fatigue as systemic inflammatory markers begin declining. Do not expect anything from your eyes yet. The meibomian gland, cells that produce your lipid layer, take 6 to 12 weeks to complete their biological turnover cycle. Expecting visual change in the first 2 weeks is like expecting a broken bone to be healed. After 3 days, the repair is happening, but it is not yet visible. Between weeks 3 and 8, your eyes will start to feel different. Less gritty in the mornings, fewer burning episodes during sustained reading, longer stretches of comfortable, clear vision. This is the meibomian gland lipid turnover reaching completion, the unclogged glands beginning to secrete clear, functional oil again after years of producing thickened sludge. By months 2 and 3, the deepest mechanisms are fully expressed. Fasting glucose, LDL cholesterol, C-reactive protein, and IL-6 levels. Show measurable improvement in the range of 10 to 18% depending on your starting baseline. These are the same biomarkers that predict cardiovascular disease, diabetic retinopathy, and accelerated biological aging. One important boundary to understand clearly: it is essential to know that ground flaxseed cannot dissolve existing cataracts or reverse structural damage from advanced glaucoma. What it addresses is the inflammatory and lipid environment that accelerates those conditions. You are not treating a disease. You are rebuilding the biological infrastructure that protects your eyes from further degeneration. Here's what you now know that most people do not. Your meibomian oil glands are collapsing. Your gut barrier is leaking inflammatory compounds into your bloodstream that accelerate retinal damage. Your declining hormonal signaling is shutting down tear production. These 3 processes feed each other in a self-reinforcing loop that tightens every year past 60. Ground flaxseed, through its ALA omega-3 and SDG lignans, intervenes across all 3 simultaneously. The evidence comes from randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trials, published in peer-reviewed ophthalmology and nutrition journals, not from testimonials, not from marketing copy. Now, let's discuss the protocol, which is actually quite straightforward. 2 tablespoons of freshly ground or cold milled flaxseed daily. Blend it into breakfast, paired with a zinc source, like pumpkin seeds or an egg. Taken 1 to 2 hours away from any medications. Start tomorrow morning with 1 teaspoon in your oatmeal. Give it 6 to 12 weeks. Your tear film will rebuild. Soon, you will find that your LDL levels will steadily drop. Your gut barrier will tighten. Your systemic inflammatory load will decrease. Mechanism by mechanism, week by week. If this kind of evidence-based analysis is useful to you, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you do not miss what comes next. In our next video, we cover a specific mineral deficiency that over 60% of adults past 50 have never been tested for, and it directly controls how fast your retinas age. Drop a comment below telling us whether you have tried ground flaxseed before, or what question you still have about the protocol. We read every single comment, and your questions shape what we research next.